Do you think that we'll be ever able to develop a robot that has a brain as complex as a human?
I feel like I watch more Netflix than I should. If you could erase memories that you don't want,
Or like science is a lot more versatile than I think many people see it as.
inspire me as a human being in addition to as a scientist.
Red, black. Hi everyone, I'm your host Isha Jain, and welcome to the fourth and unfortunately last episode of Following Their Footsteps. Today, we'll be meeting a neuroscientist, Dr. Shiona Biswas, who for the last 10 years has dedicated herself to the fascinating field of neuroscience. She's completed her PhD in neuroscience at the University of Rochester, and right now she's searching for new ways to advance our knowledge of the brain. I'm really excited to have the chance to speak with you, Dr. Shiona. Thank you so much for coming today. So I'd like to start off by asking, what sparked your interest in neuroscience?
So going into St. Xavier's, when I picked, a Bachelor of Science, I wasn't very sure about things because it was more common then to see people who either had engineering or medical or pharmacy degrees or were interested in those. And I found neuroscience to be really interesting, as well as immunology. And the first time we read about how the chemistry and the physics underlying how neurons fire, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, neuroscience is really fascinating. And what research are you currently working on?
Yeah, so my interests lie in a part of the brain called the basal ganglia.
Okay.
And the basal ganglia is involved in controlling locomotion and movement. And right now, I'm interested in doing more research on generally the basal ganglia and doing things like, learning techniques like maybe recording from neurons or doing behavioral analysis on animals to again find out more about how the basal ganglia controls locomotion and how this can get messed up in diseased conditions.
Wow. Yeah, I think also that it has a lot of applications and it can be used to, create more devices to help out with people with diseases. So that's really important.
So if you do research on animals, you can help figure out how to improve or treat disease conditions in human beings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really amazing that we're able to do that right now. I think it's really also interesting that there's so much that we don't know, I think, especially in neuroscience.
So the kind of technology that we use, and I mean, some people might have heard of this because it's become so popular, the technology which allows you to shine a light on certain neurons.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that as well.
Yeah, so that is also a development from the last 15 years, I guess. So with the advance of technology, we can ask more questions or we can address more questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I actually wanted to go a little bit more into, the methods that you use when studying neuroscience. So in neuroscience, how do you research into it?
When we do animal surgeries on mice or rats. So if I were to do the surgery, I'd use anesthesia, I'd use sterile equipment, just like if somebody were to do human surgery. You can, you perfuse, which is used formaldehyde, which is a fixative. You perfuse the tissue, the brain or the spinal cord or whatever part of the nervous system you're studying. You take it out, and typically to cut sections, we freeze the tissue. Okay, we use a cryopreservant and we freeze the tissue. And then we take extremely thin sections, like 10 microns or 30 micron sections, and we section them. We collect those sections on a slide. We use solutions and chemicals to color them and stain them, so we can look at the cells and neurons and branches of neurons better. So yeah.
I didn't know that the research was this hands-on. So I mean, that's really interesting to find out.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask, in terms of neuroscience, are there any unconventional or not as well-known fields related to studying the brain that maybe people don't really know about?
Some people actually, they love scientific outreach. They get into teaching and scientific outreach, or some people get into science policy making, which is very important. I mean, the more real scientists you have advising the government on various science policy decisions, so better it is. There are people who become science writers, and good science writing can really help educate people or even encourage youngsters to pursue science.
Yeah, I think for sure, like science is a lot more versatile than I think many people see it as. I think now we can move on to the rapid fire round. What are some of your hobbies to start off with?
Well, I would have to say I like dancing. I like tango. I'm dying to get back to dance more when I can. But I read. I wish I read more than I actually do. I feel like I watch more Netflix than I should, especially when I come home from the lab. It's just so much easier to watch something over dinner than to read a book.
Yeah, for sure. Who is your biggest inspiration?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask that question. That kind of question. I guess I've had a good support system, while growing up. Talking to scientists, let's say people who are more senior than me, who inspire me as a human being in addition to as a scientist, because that I find is rarer to find among successful scientists than just being successful at science. And maybe when I was a kid, I grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. And I used to love Captain Picard and Data, who I was enamored by as a kid.
What is your favorite thing to do on a day off?
I would love to go dancing and then hang out with friends at a bar and have nice cocktails.
Now I think we can move on to the audience question. Do you think that we'll be ever able to develop a robot that has a brain as complex as a human's?
I don't think we're close to that. I mean, one of the analogies that was used was that, compare a bird and a plane. A plane cannot do everything a bird does, and a bird cannot function the way a plane does. But it's not just that. There's a lot of things about how living brains function that, I mean, it's taken millions of years for living brains to evolve. There's a lot that people who work with artificial intelligence systems have to do in order to, more closely approximate even a fraction of what the actual brain does.
Yeah. And also, this wasn't part of my initial question list, but as you mentioned that, you're doing a lot of things in developmental neurobiology. So I just wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on the whole nature versus nurture debate?
But we do know certain things that, early life experience or early life stress can alter the way your brains function, So one thing we know for sure is that it's not just genes that make you who you are, make you good at what you are. And the thing is, nurture happens over a lifetime, right? Nurture isn't restricted like the genetic component you're born with. So, and we know that experience alters the brain. It causes neurons to sprout more branches, connections between neurons to become stronger. Yeah.
And for the last section of this episode, I think we can move on to the short game for today. Have you heard of the Stroop test by any chance?
Yeah, I have. I learned about it and studied about it a long time ago. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So basically, it's a short brain teaser in which there are many words on the screen in different colors, and you need to say the color of the word, but not the actual word itself. So I thought to make it a little more fun, we can see how many words we both get in 15 seconds. 3, 2, 1, start.
Red, black, orange, green, blue, orange, yellow, red. Yellow, black, green, blue, red. Black, green, blue, orange.
Okay, that was really good, actually. I think you got like 15 or 16, which is quite impressive. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, red, black, orange, black, green, blue, orange, black. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we have the same line.
I think we got the same line. So maybe we can call it a tie for this one.
Glad I didn't lose.
Yeah, I hope many more people that are going to be listening to this will be able to also learn more about this field and about your work. And yeah, it was really great talking to you. So thank you so much for being here.
You as well. Thank you.
And thank you everyone for coming to the last episode of Follow in Their Footsteps. I hope you enjoyed this series. Bye.